Hey, what's up, guys? This is Nathan with the Raw Faith Podcast, episode 3, discussion 3. Without further ado, here we go. That was kind of weird how I did the gesture, but without further ado, here we go. All right. For today's talking point, we're going to watch a little video. It's a 6-minute video by Thomas Sowell today, the channel on YouTube. The history of white slave liberals avoid the history of white slaves liberals avoid like the plague today.
View of history. One that when we talk about slavery, we often encounter a highly selective view of history, one that fits a convenient political narrative rather than the full, unvarnished truth. The prevailing assumption, especially in academic and media circles, is that slavery was a uniquely Western sin, a crime perpetrated solely by white Europeans against African victims. But the reality is far more complex. Slavery has been a universal institution throughout human history. And if one were to examine this issue honestly, they would have to grapple with an inconvenient fact. Millions of white people were also enslaved, many by non-Europeans, and many under conditions just as brutal as those suffered by black slaves in the Americas.
So I kind of seen this I did see this clip already before. I think it was like yesterday or last night. And what he's showing is basically that slavery was not just unique to just one specific race, group, ethnic group, or race of people. It was a practiced institution throughout the world. Historically, there's facts, there's evidence, there's testimonies, there's what do they have it? Documentation, ancient documentation, scripts, census, thesis, and stuff like that. That basically show that throughout the world, slavery was practiced. So it isn't just unique to one group. And in other places, it was worse. They treated their slaves a lot worse than in America. But when we say the word slavery, or the majority of people say slavery or think of slavery, they automatically think America. The blacks were enslaved by the whites in America. That's the first thing that crosses their mind, because it's been so publicized, and so like the propaganda of it has been so pushed. And I say propaganda because there are facts. He's not the only one speaking about this. Real scholar, historians, what is it called? Black African studies, people with their PhDs in that degree, and other degrees and fields that study this history, black histories, quote unquote civil rights, American history, world history. So they all have facts and conclusions that slavery was practiced throughout the world, not just in America. And in other places it was a lot worse than it was in America. But we like to just shift all the blame to, oh, slavery in America was the worst, it is the worst, and that's the only one that that's what we think about first when you bring up slavery.
Historical reality versus political mythology. The transatlantic slave trade is without a doubt one of history's great atrocities, but it is not the only chapter. When we talk about slavery, we often encounter a highly selective view of history, one that fits a convenient political narrative rather than the full, unvarnished truth. The prevailing assumption, especially in academic and media circles, is that slavery was a uniquely Western sin, a crime perpetrated solely by white Europeans against African victims. But the reality is far more complex. Slavery has been a universal institution throughout human history. And if one were to examine this issue honestly, they would have to grapple with an inconvenient fact. Millions of white people were also enslaved, many by non-Europeans, and many under conditions just as brutal as those suffered by black slaves in the Americas. Historical reality versus political mythology. The transatlantic slave trade is,
Hold on, I think it's like double backing.
as a political cudgel to extract endless reparations or justify modern racial policies. Indentured servitude and the overlooked suffering of poor whites The white slavery of the Barbary trade was one of the most brutal forms, but it was not the only one. In the Americas, another form of bondage existed, indentured servitude, which many historians tried to downplay. This was not some cushy apprenticeship program, as some have suggested. Many indentured servants were functionally slaves, enduring brutal conditions, forced labor, and even severe corporal punishment. The early American colonies were not built solely on the backs of African slaves. Many English, Irish, and Scottish individuals were sold into servitude, often under deceitful contracts that promised passage to the New World in exchange for years of grueling labor. Children were frequently separated from their parents and sold off to different plantation owners, just as African slaves were. The death rates among indentured servants were staggeringly high.
So that's what come in place to my belief and my perspective and many other people's perspective. And this is a battle of good and evil, uh, right and wrong. Slavery it isn't racist, quote unquote, because it doesn't discriminate. Slavery's been practiced. If you look also in the Bible, when Moses freed the slaves, the Israelites, they were slaves, and they weren't just. And it's amazing because it just shows since those times and way before it's been practiced. It's how, like, when people say it's similar to when people say, oh, prostitution is one of the oldest professions. Well, so is slavery. So is and was slavery. To this day, there are nations, countries, parts in the world that they still do practice slavery in some type of way, shape, or form. Um, and it's not all Africans or black people. It's could be Asians, even prisoners of war, for example. When you capture somebody from war, Native Americans used to do it. We used to do it. Every nation that warred, when they would get, when they would win and conquer, and they would have the rest of the people that have surrendered, the enemy, they would enslave them, or the people that they captured, they would enslave them. And it wasn't based off of race, it was based off of which side you were on, good or evil, or what you thought in your head or think of what is right and what is wrong. But right and wrong are right and wrong. People might use reasoning and do use reasoning and reasoning is wickedness, it's evil, it's from Satan, because you can reason with yourself to the point of doing something wrong. And when you do something wrong to somebody, you can reason with yourself in many ways to downplay it, or reason with yourself to do something that you don't really want to do until you think about it later on. And what I mean by that is like coming to a conclusion, coming closer to Christ, realizing your actions, what was right, what was wrong, and realizing what you did at the time was driven by emotion and not by logic, not by Christ first. And so it's very interesting.
Time. Many did not survive their term of service. And yet, do we ever hear about their suffering? No, because their skin color does not fit the preferred ideological framework of modern progressives. Why the silence?
And the way I'm talking like this and kind of being a little like sketchy is because there's people that live back here in the back house, and I don't want to wake them up. It looks like their window might be open, so being a little cautious of that, of people's space and whatnot.
Historical ignorance, its ideological necessity. The entire foundation of leftist politics rests on maintaining a narrative of perpetual racial oppression in which whites are always the oppressors and non-whites are always the oppressed. If it were widely acknowledged that whites were also enslaved, brutalized, and subjugated throughout history, the left's racial grievance industry would collapse under the weight of its own hypocrisy. There is an enormous political and financial incentive to keep this information buried. Race hustlers, activists, and politicians depend on the idea that Black Americans have a unique and unparalleled historical grievance, one that justifies government intervention, reparations, and racial preferences. If people were to learn that their ancestors, whether Irish, English, Scottish, or Slavic, may have also been...
I'm gonna check if they're here. Hey guys, I'm back. We're getting back to it. Actually, it doesn't look like no one's here, so we can continue this in a better, and the energy that I kind of want to bring to it, and continue to bring to it. My apologies, guys. I'm really new to this whole YouTube space, putting myself out there, my thoughts, my opinions, and the content, bringing you guys content that I feel like is needed now, especially in this world. The truth, the truth through Christ. Be the truth, seek the truth, and live by the truth. Don't be manipulated by evil.
The modern discourse is that slavery was uniquely driven by racial animus. In reality, slavery was always about power and economics. The African chieftains who sold their own people into slavery were not motivated by racial hatred, they were motivated by profit. The Arab traders who enslaved both Africans and Europeans were not operating from a racial ideology, they were operating a business. If slavery
Yeah, so basically, it's not about racism, about your race, your ethnic background. It's about power. Slavery is about power. It's about economics, making money. It's a business. Just how like human trafficking, sex trafficking is a business, and it makes money lucratively, which is the actions and the perspective of it might be wrong, straight up, but at the end of the day, it makes profits. It makes money. It's very lucrative. Same thing as slavery. So it's not about that racism. It was practiced throughout the land, throughout the world, and it wasn't based off your skin color or your religious background. It was literally based off of power, economics, oppressing the weak.
had been about race, then why did the Ottoman Empire enslave millions of Slavs? Why did Mongols enslave Persians? Why did Native American tribes enslave one another long before Europeans ever set foot on American soil? The truth is that slavery was a universal human institution, and it was only the West, specifically Britain and the United States, that led the global charge to end it. But you will never hear that fact emphasized in a modern university lecture or a mainstream media discussion. What does this mean for today?
And in my personal belief, it's because of Marxism. Marxism is in the colleges, it's in the universities, in the educational institutions. People as young as in high school or even in middle school, some places, they're already teaching them about Karl Marx and Marxism and how it's good. When inherently, if you look into it, its backgrounds literally, it's like the offspring of communism. And as we all know, or as we all should know, through looking back in history, communism is evil. It's bad. And when I think about it as a Christian, it's communism is the same thing as Marxism, but just a different word, a different era, a different generation, a different word that we translated it to, but it means the same thing. And it's just how the devil envisions the world for us. That's what I feel like it really is and truly is.
The refusal to acknowledge the full history of slavery is not just an academic issue, it has real world consequences. It feeds into a victimhood culture that distorts reality and creates racial resentment. It fosters policies that divide people along racial lines rather than uniting them in a shared history of struggle and survival. Consider the modern discussions around reparations. If historical slavery is the justification for compensatory policies, then why are white descendants of indentured servants or Barbary captives not included? Why do we selectively acknowledge certain histories while ignoring others? Because the real goal is not justice, it is power. Keeping people in a state of grievance and resentment makes them politically useful. The reality is that no one alive today was ever a slave, and no one alive today was ever a slave owner. But if people were to truly understand history, they might begin to question the narratives being force fed to them by politicians, activists, and academia. They might realize that they are being manipulated, that history is far more complex than the simplistic morality tale they have been told. Conclusion. The history of white slavery is not a footnote in history. It is a glaring omission, deliberately ignored, because it does not serve the prevailing political agenda. The truth is that slavery was never about race. It was about power, and it was a universal institution that affected people of all backgrounds. The West did not invent slavery, but it did play the leading role in ending it. And that is a reality the left simply cannot afford to acknowledge.
Yeah, this video, the history of white slave liberals avoid like the plague. Thomas Sowell, sorry if I butcher your last name, Sowell or Sowell, today. All right, another talking point I wanted to get to, just that I feel like it should be shined a big light on, and it hasn't been, because I feel like men nowadays, we have all weakened in many ways. And I will give you some facts right now. All right. So recently, RFK Jr. stated at a conference for him leading the World Health Organization, or just being the head of health and safety, I believe. But whatever, all that. And so this is what he said. RFK stated that a teenager today, an American teenager, has less testosterone than a 68-year-old man. He made this claim during an appearance on Fox News, where he also mentioned that sperm counts have decreased by 50%. Okay. That's being attacked. That's men being attacked biologically now. And then look at the statistic for, I'm going to bring a lot of statistics, but 75% of Hispanic households are single family households. Additionally, 51% of Hispanic families have a single mother. So out of 75%, 51% of families have a single mother. So this indicates being attacked at the home. A lot of fathers are not in their child's life, whether it be their daughter, their son, both, or many. They're not being involved as a father should be in their life each and every single day, showing them, teaching them, raising them, bringing them closer to Christ, also leading the household, leading the family, leading his woman, leading the children. It's being taken away, and that attacks the man spiritually, because the man is closest to Christ than it is to a woman. The men we lead, women they follow, and they teach the children, and they nurture the children, and secure the children, and take care of the man. They play many roles. I am not downplaying their roles at all, but we are not equal. We have two different roles in life. Men endure, men overcome, men naturally grow closer to Christ. Women, there's a lot could be said about that. And a good person that I would link down below to watch any of his content that he speaks more in depth about women is Jesse Lee Peterson. I agree with many of his statements about women, not all, but a good majority. If you really think about it and understand it, you'll see. So this is a spiritual warfare that I wanted to talk to people about. So men are being attacked in the household, taken away from their children, not being able to lead, not being able to lead them toward Christ. Women are now becoming the man, leading the household, getting educated. More women nowadays are becoming more educated, getting degrees, and becoming in higher professions. and this whole feminist movement of I don't need a man, or a man ain't shit, and I could do this on my own. I'm a boss, and I could be with whoever I want. That kind of single life mindset, even with children. Um, and so even the statistics say, I believe it's like 63% or 70 something percent of women that obtain a degree, like a bachelor's or higher, they don't want to be with in a relationship with another man. I mean, with a man that doesn't have a degree as equivalent, or doesn't have a degree, period. So that just cuts off a lot of men right there, from even having a chance at something real, or them even wanting something real. And so this is spiritual warfare. Personally, in my perspective, in my opinion, Satan is uh, attacking men physically, biologically. The sperm count of men have decreased by 50%. Men are growing weaker physically, biologically, mentally, and even at the household with that spiritually. We're being attacked in every way possible by the master strategist, Satan. He doesn't sleep, and he's been working on this since the fall. And he hates us because we have life, and we're able to have a connection with Christ and God, a direct connection to God, and he's cut off completely. Um, so he's attacking men, and at the same time encouraging women to be the man, to lead the household, to completely go off their natural roles and natural placements in Christ. It's God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. And we're seeing that just crumble. Um, so I personally believe that as men, we need to grow closer to Christ. We need to seek Him. We need to pray, have silent prayers, stay close, know right from wrong. Do not obey our thoughts. Never obey your thoughts. All thoughts, except practical thoughts, are from Satan. You can reason with yourself to change genders. You can reason with yourself to commit murder. You can reason with yourself to do the wrong thing. You can even reason with yourself that you did the right thing when it was the wrong thing. And those things are inherently bad. They're not of you. They're not of this world. We live in a world that is like limbo, where there is the spiritual world, and then there's the physical realm, and then we have heaven and hell. And it's like I always tell people, what Jesus said is, we do not fight with uh, flesh and blood. We do not fight with flesh and blood. We fight with uh, wickedness and wickedness and principalities of this world, evilness of this world, the spiritual world. This is spiritual warfare, and men are being attacked. They've been attacked, and this is the worst ever. We're being weakened in every sense of the word, in every sense of the way, so strategically and so planned out by Satan. Because you got to think, Satan was he was an angel before he fell. He was an angel. He knows how it is to be an angel. He knows the tactics of an angel. He knows how God uses them, or how God plays uh plays the game on that side. So he knows how to defeat it. He knows how to counteract that. But we have to be strong enough to know that it's manipulation, that's of Satan, that is wrong, and we need to seek righteousness and be right, and not be angry, and lead by logic and wisdom, and not by knowledge and emotion, because those are of Satan. Used a chainsaw to cut. So one of the news that happened recently, this is 7 days ago by KTLA 5. This happened in downtown LA. It was reported a homeless man was arrested in downtown LA uh, for the chainsaw tree mystery. So I believe I heard about this too, that so at night, or early morning, or at the nighttime when no one was around, or I don't know if it was nighttime or not. Actually, I don't know. But I do know that he was cutting down trees, public sidewalk trees, business trees and bushes, branches. He was cutting them down, all the shade, with the chainsaw. I believe some people saw him but didn't do anything and just kept moving, kept pushing it. And he was just doing that and causing property damage, I guess you could say, for the city, for taxpayers, and also for businesses. And then they ended up tracking him down and arresting him. So we're gonna watch this video by KTLA 5.
Then police say a 45-year-old man used a chainsaw to cut down a dozen trees in a vandalism spree spanning 3 LA neighborhoods.
Mary Beth Matade is live in downtown LA with more on how officers tracked down the suspect and the city's plans to restore the damage. MB.
Yes, and Mike and Chair, please tell us that he used an electric chainsaw, and they say that they recognized him from images that they got in from the public. They knew him as a homeless man and where he resided, and so they went over there and picked him up on Tuesday night.
For downtown LA, I mean, I've been there many times. I used to work there many times. I've been up and down there, even on the public transit system, walking. Would it be a surprise? I mean, would it have been a surprise if it wasn't a homeless man? I think it would have. But knowing that it was confirmed that it's a homeless man or a known homeless man, that people knew that he was homeless and they knew of him or seen him. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
KTLA viewers have been sending us these images of a man with a chainsaw cutting down trees in and around the downtown LA area for days. News of the tree cutter also...
That I didn't know it was for days. I thought it was like one night. But wow, it was for a couple days he was doing this. And no one stopped him. People seen him, but no one said anything.
Spread across social media platforms. Well, now, police have identified the suspect as 45-year-old Samuel Groff and arrested him for felony vandalism.
Mr. Groff is suspected of using a power saw to cut down multiple trees on 6 different incidents in the downtown Los Angeles community, the Westlake District, as well as Glassell Park.
On Tuesday evening, the LAPD released a community alert.
Oh, I'm gonna try to if I could put it like somewhere in the video of the information right here of his felony vandalism arrest wanted picture and by Crime Stoppers, and it says here, so his stats are: he is a male, white, brown hair, blue eyes, goatee, 6'4", 230 pounds. Damn, 230 pounds at 6'4". It's a big guy, man. Tall guy. Approximately 40 years old.
To be on the lookout for the chainsaw-wielding vandal, police tell us some officers in the Rampart Division recognized him as a homeless man and knew where he resided.
That's kind of funny because it's like, so some cops saw the video or saw this picture and they were like, "Hey, I know that guy. Oh, he hangs out over here or whatever." So apparently, they started to go to all the places that they know that he hangs out, and I guess eventually they found him at one of those places that he's the usual at.
They went to that location and took him into custody.
Yeah. Once they put out the crime alert, we were able to do a workup on the named suspect. We found that we had prior contacts with him. We went to one of the locations, which was over at Custer and at Sunset. Once we got there, we found him there with the evidence. He had the same clothing, bicycle, and chainsaw.
Detectives tell us.
I wonder if he's gonna plead not guilty, even though he has pictures of him, video of him committing it with the same chainsaw and with the same clothes that he was wearing at the time of when these vandalisms were occurring.
Groff has a lengthy criminal history and spoke to them about the tree cutting incidents, but they're not revealing what he said motivated him.
You give a statement, and that's going to be up to the district attorney's office to determine that statement can be used as prosecution.
Repairing and replacing the city trees is very costly. Detectives say the price tag will be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this building manager, who lost several trees on her Westlake District property, is also feeling the financial pain.
You know, it's just very sad to see the trees just cut down like that. They're damaged. They can't just grow again. We might have to replace them. They're a lot of money.
And Groff did an interview with a publication called the University Times a couple of years ago, and he told the reporter then that he hadn't lived with a roof over his head in more than 20 years. He said that he was offered an apartment, though, after he completed a court-ordered mental health program, but he declined it because he didn't want to have to share a room with a schizophrenic guy. For now, reporting live here in downtown.
That guy's just lost. And I'm not just talking about drugs or like lost in the sauce, but lost spiritually. He needs to find the Father. He needs to seek the Father, be born again of the Father, and see that all his thoughts, to not submit to his thoughts anymore, and to overcome his thoughts and overcome himself and truly know himself. And he'll be good. There's a reason why I believe the statistic. I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast recently. Was it the Joe Rogan podcast? No, it was a Jesse Lee Peterson show, and it was it's his recent interview with a female activist that works under Trump, and she was an addict, and she promotes for Christian-based rehabs, and apparently Christian-based rehabs have a 80+% success rate in rehabilitating drug addicts to never use again, compared to the standard non-God, non-Christ based, non-God based, like basically atheist or agnostic type of rehabs that we have, the medical rehabs that give you pharmaceutical drugs, drug you down, have you inside and stuff like that. It's a big difference, and their success rate, I believe, is only like 20% or around 20 or less percent. So hey, the proof's in the pudding. And I go through logic and wisdom, and those are facts there. Whether you believe it's right or wrong, that's totally beside the case, because this is fact. Fact is fact, and truth is truth, and it'll always overcome. Truth is light, and it just shines a light upon things and how everything is continuing. All right. This is gonna be like the last thing. I have to do this quick. So I wanted to make one of the last points of this discussion about something kind of like just going on right now. A little meme, the one gorilla versus 100 men. So at first I was solely like, yeah, the gorilla would definitely slaughter 100 men with no weapons, though, no weapons, just themselves, their body. But then I watched a video by Forrest Galante or Gallant. Sorry if I butcher your name. I'll put your link to your channel down below, or to this video actually, the one gorilla versus 100 men. And this is his opinion. He studies this stuff. He rescues animals, finds different species. He goes into the forest. He's like a safari man, and I'm sorry for undershooting you, because I know you probably have like degrees and like you're a mad scholar in this stuff, but like an explorer. You know what? Let me look you up right now before I don't want to be wrong. All right, so Forrest Gallant is an American outdoor adventurer. Occupation, television host. So yeah, he's a television host, television personality, an American outdoor adventurer. So he studies this stuff. He's always around. He has a lot of shows too with animals, and this is his take on it. And it kind of changed my perspective now. And now I believe that 100 men would, not all 100 men will live. A lot of them will die, but we'll end up taking down that one gorilla. In this video, and there was also another video, it was on Instagram that I watched, and it backed up this claim from a different person that is a zoologist that studies that stuff, and even brought out a real skull of one of the biggest gorillas. And his perspective still was 100 men would win, due to the fact that they are not cardio based. They're like 400, 500 pounds. That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of energy having to be exerted in thrusts. and that they wouldn't last after a whole minute. They would gas out, and at that point, men would just destroy them. The men that are left, and I think the men that will be left is at the least 40, but at the most 50 men will be left to deal with it, and that's more than enough to stomp, kill, crush uh, the gorilla to death.
Who would win in a fight, a gorilla or 100 men? All right, let's break this down once and for all. Well, a full-grown male gorilla is an absolute monster. It can lift 2,000 pounds, has a bite force of 1,300 psi, and is up to 9 times stronger than the average guy. But here's the thing, gorillas aren't built for long fights. They're like sprinters. They explode for about a minute and then they gas out hard. So yeah, the first 30, maybe 40 guys, dead instantly. But after a minute, once enough guys dogpile onto it, weight wins, endurance wins. The 100 men would eventually overwhelm the gorilla, barely, probably losing about half in the process.
Yeah, and also the fact that us humans, compared to other species of animals and other animals in the wild, other predators especially, they might have their specific characteristics that makes them a predator, makes them a top dog. But for us, we're very endurance based. We have the ability to sweat, and with the ability to sweat, lets us do it cools down our body's core temperature, our body's temperature, and allows us to continue running, continue to endure, even through muscular failure or through muscular endurance building, like long-term sprinters. David Goggins is an example. A lot of top level athletes, people in special forces, rangers, high level athletic people that work out every day, that train, have a regimen and stick to it like a machine. At that point your body becomes a machine, and we're endurance based. That was like a cheetah. A cheetah might outrun us for sure, 100%, but it's gonna eventually gas out, and it's gonna gas out. And it's gonna have to rest. Us, we can continue going. We just continue breathing, continue running, and it's all mental through there. Sorry, that cut off. Ran out of memory for a second, so I had to cut that off. So yeah, continuing with what it finished by, yeah, we continue to sweat, we have endurance, and that's why I believe that 100 men, well, the men will end up defeating the gorilla. I just wanted to say, guys, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys for listening, for watching. My apologies. I was supposed to have a guest over, my friend from the first episode podcast discussion, but things ended up happening with him. He wasn't able to show up. So I still wanted to push content for you guys, still wanted to put something out there on the channel, and to gain more perspective. We might have opposing thoughts or different perspective and differences. But I believe that even someone that has the opposite perspective of me, I can still learn a thing or two from them, and they can learn a thing or two from me. And that's what I would want for you guys, to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely comment your perspective, your thoughts on this, everything. There is no right or wrong answer. There's no right or wrong questions. You just ask away, or put your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to see you guys' perspective on things. This is a Christian faith-based podcast, the Raw Faith Podcast, with your host here, Nathan. And I hope to have more guests soon, people coming over, more interviews to see differing odds, to expose the truth, expose the lies, and to keep people informed of the truth. Because so much stuff we've been lied to and continue to be lied to. People continue to be in that fallen state and following these lies and not seeking the truth, or forgetting about the truth. The light will always overcome the dark. The dark is always afraid of the light. The light is never afraid, because it is the truth. And the truth, when it is with you, nothing else can hurt you from the outside. No wickedness, no evil. And so I'm going to end this discussion, episode 3 of the Raw Faith Podcast. This is a solo edition. I just wanted to push content out, and so I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry for the little speediness of this, but just kind of ran out of time today. but I still wanted to push something out there. Have a nice rest of your day. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content from the Raw Faith Podcast with your host, Nathan. Peace.